This is probably the biggest story of this week. President Cyril Ramaphosa is to offer an economic roadmap when he presents a recovery plan this week. For some insight into what might be the best approach, I'm now joined by Lisa Seftel from the National Economic Development and Labour Council. Lisa, good morning. Thank you for joining me. So, what are the stakes here, Lisa? I mean, we've seen the figures that have been coming out that have sort of been giving us a clear picture of what happened in the economy in the last few months. We talk about what? Unemployment by the expanded definition at about 42%, and some 2.2 million jobs lost in the last quarter, and GDP down by some 16.4% on the non-annualized basis, and 51% on the annualized basis. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Absolutely. So I think, as you said, the stakes are very high. That something different needs to happen to be able to begin to turn the economy around and also to reconstruct it. And I think there has been significant discussion among social partners over the last couple of months, and there is a lot of expectation that the work of the social partners plus the work of government will be reflected in the President's Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, which is being announced on Thursday.
So from those conversations with the various social partners at NEDLEC, where does it look like the immediate escape hatches are for us out of this crisis? What are some of the key themes that need to be tackled?
Sure. I'm not sure escape hatch is the best description. Escape hatch almost implies that we want to run away from the problems. But I think that the key areas, the key structural reforms, the key crisis points in our economy are well known, and it is anticipated that there can be immediate, and this is what the social partners have been asking for, immediate short-term actions that can begin to build confidence and turn the economy around in areas particularly around energy security, around digital migration, and also around kickstarting infrastructure investments, and maybe also issues around congestion and so on, particularly in the freight system and logistics system.
And I imagine that within the context of energy, then, the talk about the unbundling of ESCOM, which has been going on for quite a while now, without, fully coming to fruition. Of course, there's some work being done, but it's not really come to full fruition. I imagine that must be front and center, as well as where additional energy capacity will come from. Nuclear build?
Look, I think that the presidency and also the NEDLEC social partners have really made a commitment that the details of that discussion is something which will be released and revealed by the president going forward, yes.
Yeah. So talk to me, Lisa, about the ANC's discussion document, right? My understanding is that it has been tabled and discussed among the social partners before NEDLEC, but I mean, it's been criticized. I'm sure you will have seen the criticism. What's your sense? How useful a document as a basis for discussions has it been?
Look, NEDLEC is made up of social partners, and the ANC is not a social partner at NEDLEC. It is a very important player in South Africa. The way that the NEDLEC process worked is that the president called for a forum for economic recovery, and invited the different social partners to present their plans and their proposals. And out of that, what was very clear is that there's a significant amount of convergence. It doesn't mean that the social partners converge on everything, but, earlier on you talked about escape hatches. Well, I would, say that there are particular issues of which there is significant convergence and sufficient convergence that if one works together, there can be a demonstrable difference. And some of those issues are issues which are also being canvassed by the ANC, but not necessarily exclusively so.
Sure, but let me ask you then, how important is it that whatever plan is eventually unveiled has specific timelines and sort of objectives to say this must be achieved? I mean, I heard you talk earlier on about some of the known priority areas that are, that you're saying there's agreement among the social partners that these need to be tackled almost immediately. How important is it that there should be specific timelines as well as clear indication of where the funding will come from for some of those projects that need funding?
Yes, definitely. I think that was a strong focus within the NEDLAC process. I think there are three strong focuses. The one is that there must be clear timeframes and commitments to those timeframes. The second is that, yes, there either needs to be funds or there needs to be a commitment to mobilize those funds. And thirdly, that the focus shouldn't necessarily be on more planning, but really on the implementation of plans which have been around for a long time. So I'm aware that there's, criticism out there that there's nothing new. And I think that's fine, if there's nothing new. If there are plans that haven't been implemented, then let's just do what we've already agreed to do, if that is what can make a significant difference in the shortest period of time.
And Lisa, what's the conversation in terms of the fiscal framework of the country? The concerns around the debt burden on our fiscus has been ongoing for a while, and we've had to borrow even more during the time that we've been responding to the COVID-19 crisis. Throw into that mix some of the pressures that have resulted from issues to do with the size of the public service and what we've been talking about over the last few years. So what's your sense of the conversations that have happened among the social partners? Do they talk to that particular issue of the fiscal framework ahead of the medium-term policy statement?
Yes, the social partners have engaged on it, and in fact, it is tradition in NEDLAC to engage on the medium-term budget policy statement and to endeavour to give inputs from the perspective of the different constituencies into that process. To say that there's an agreement on the fiscal framework, I think it's well known that it's unlikely. I think there's a common appreciation about the fiscal constraints that we face, but it's an ongoing engagement about what are the best levers to move to be able to improve our fiscal framework.
All right, Lisa Seftel, thank you so much for your insights into this particular conversation around the economic recovery plan that is expected to be delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. I think it's in 2 days' time that he will be unveiling that particular plan. It's much awaited. There's been a lot of conversations around it, and you will have seen the criticism around the plan that the ANC has proposed. Of course, Lisa clarifying as well that the ANC is not a partner within the framework of NEDLAC, but is an important player within the South African situation, of course, being the governing party and sort of giving policy direction to the government in Pretoria.